She's got a great voice, that girl does.
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk to you more, Alice. Great to have you here.
Yeah.
The credit crunch tightened a notch today with the news that mortgage approvals have hit a record low, down an incredible 2/3 on this time last year.
But who are we to blame? How about the city boys whose bonuses over the last few years have seen them set up for life? One
man who believes these high rollers are partly to blame was not so long ago one of their number, trousering the same telephone number bonuses as the rest of them.
I'm Geraint Anderson, and after 12 years in the city, I think it's true to say that I've seen my fair share of the high life. My first bonus was 14 grand, second 55, my third bonus was 150 grand. In the city, a good bonus can be as high as several £1,000,000, and boy, is it easy to spend that kind of money. At 100 quid a cocktail, my quiet night at the bar rarely left me with much change. One of my ex-colleagues bought 3 of these. The only reason he didn't buy a 4th is because his wife wouldn't let him. And the geezer I used to know owned 200 properties in the Sevenoaks area. I don't reckon he'd have a problem with a £5 million price tag on this gaff. 2 years ago, I started to expose the excesses of city life in an anonymous newspaper column. It became clear to me that the very industry that made me a rich man was behind the credit crunch. This year, at just 35, I retired from the city, saying goodbye to the flash lifestyle, the financial risks, and of course, my annual bonus. Some analysts believe these potential big bonuses don't just affect financial markets. It could affect you, especially if you're trying to borrow money. Even Britain's biggest business organisation, the CBI, has made the link between city bonuses and the credit crunch. High stakes can mean big losses, and when things go wrong, the city workers keep their bonuses, but the banks have less money to lend. Financial expert Justin Urquhart-Stewart took me to meet single mum Elaine. She's struggling to get a mortgage, and Justin believes bonus culture has a part to play.
How much do you earn every year?
I earn just over 33,000.
33,000. Does give me a bit of a difference here. Geraint, what was your last bonus?
Ooh, about £500,000.
£500,000, and that's a lifetime salary in one bonus. What's happened in the city now as a result of all of this? Can you get a mortgage?
I can't, no, I've tried.
You've tried to
pass.
And they've just turned you down?
I don't get a look in, even with a reasonable deposit.
Right.
It's just no way.
So you did the right thing, came along with the deposit. You got a salary,
deposit, yeah.
And you still want to know you?
No, I'm too much risk.
And Elaine's not the only one feeling the pinch. Mortgage approvals are down 67% on this time last year, meaning less of us will be relocating in the coming months.
And this is the problem that's occurred, because what happened in the city during this time, you had a period of advanced greed going on from, I mean, not just the workers, but actually the bosses who happily went along with it, causing this huge build-up and people just earning short-term bonuses and not caring what happened next year. And so when the whole thing went bang, what did they care? And what they didn't realise was that directly then that impacts on the mortgage companies, the banks, and they won't lend money and they won't trust anybody.
Very short-term view.
I actually found that quite uncomfortable. I mean, my last bonus was 15 times what she made last year. I also know, although she was being lovely, she actually blames people like me for her problems. You know what? She's got a point. I'm really pleased I turned my back on all this. I'm interested in finding out if I'm the only one with moral hang-ups. I called up 25 of my former colleagues. All right, John, it's Geraint here. But none of them wanted to talk for fear of getting sacked. There's a real culture of silence. One of them did agree to speak, but only on the condition that we didn't show his face. Some people look at the sort of salaries we earn, and they kind of see it as disgusting, you know, just massively overpaid. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Everyone in the city works pretty damn hard for their money. I mean, you're talking about people working, you know, a minimum of a 12-hour day, a minimum of 5 days, usually 7 days a week. And that's before you even think about the time that people spend worrying and stressing about things in their own free time. Does anyone ever really complain about how much Premiership footballers get paid? Do you know how much a footballer gets paid? He gets paid more than I do, just for turning up once a week and kicking a ball around. I get up every morning at 5:30 and I get home late at night. these are just the kind of numbers that you get if you're playing at the top of your game.
And do you think the bonus culture might have contributed to the credit crunch in which everyone's suffering now?
Well, what has happened is that the world has gone out on their credit card and they've maxed it out. And now the bills come in the post.
Now, I've seen both sides of the argument, and I find it hard to feel sorry for those toiling away in the city, no matter how hard they're working. This city boy, at least, is glad to be out of the rat race.
Geraint, so have you made your fortune, or are you going to give it all back now?
Well, I mean, I've done 12 years in the city, and anyone who's half decent is going to earn a bit of money in that time. I am planning to give quite a bit back. I know that sounds what everyone says, but I mean, I'm doing a pop song, Cityboy, which is all the proceeds of which will go to shelter.
Yeah.
And also, I plan to help a school in Africa that I've just heard about.
All right, you're a good guy.
I'm a good guy. I'm just honest, just believe me.
In fairness, it was a motorbike accident that made you have to take a step away from this job.
Yeah, that's right. About a year ago, I almost took my right kneecap off and should have died, really. And I had to reappraise everything I was doing. I suddenly realised life's short, it's not a dress rehearsal, you could get run over by a bus tomorrow. And finally...
I almost got hit by a bus last night. That's funny you say that.
I almost get hit by a bus every night.
Geraint's feeling a certain amount of guilt about his monumental wealth that he earned. Did you ever feel guilt about being a rock star, all that money? You remember what it was like to struggle?
Well, you know, everybody I know came from a real lower middle class family. My wife's family was that. One thing we have in common is that both of our parents were missionaries. So, I mean, it wasn't exactly a lot of money coming in. So when the money did start coming in, I still had a very Midwest attitude about money. $100 was still $100. So, I mean, you know, I wasn't out just throwing it around. You know, I think that you kind of grow up understanding that that's a lot of money. So I wasn't really extravagant like everything else. But yeah, I went through a lot of money, you know.
But the amount of money that's made in bonuses, they should pay 40% tax on that. That's a huge amount of money that goes to to be spent on hospitals and roads and all the things the government needs to spend it on.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the city brings in £15 billion in income tax, £12 billion in corporation tax. I'm not against people earning money. I'm against the abuses that are so common in the city, the insider trading, spreading false rumours, the people avoiding tax like non-doms, the private equity boys. And that's what I'm really trying to kind of get at in my book, City Boys, trying to expose once and for all what's actually going on in the city, and that's really my agenda.
This sort of short-term gambling, it's bound to result in some sort of redundancies in the next few months.
Oh yeah, I don't think there are going to be too many tears shed in London when 20 to 40,000 people lose their jobs.
But you wouldn't wish redundancy on 20,000
I certainly wouldn't,
people,
but don't forget, these people have been minting it for about 3 or 4 years in a lovely bull market, and now they can sit back and go, well, that's a crying shame, I've only got £2 million in the bank. So, you know, I wouldn't feel too sorry for a lot of them. I agree, redundancy, you know, per se is not a great thing, but there are, you know, children starving in Africa.
Well, I'm surprised that any place, I always say this and I can't still figure it out, in the United States or Britain, there should not be one hungry kid anywhere.
Yeah.
I can't figure out how there could be hungry kids
Absolutely.
in America or Britain.
But there
you know,
are.
I mean, there are, and it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
With the system as it is,
not thinking it. Yeah.
I just say with the system as it is, the gap is going to widen between rich and poor, and things are going to get nastier.
All right. Great to meet you. Keep in touch with us.
Yeah. When it comes to deserving people, you don't get much more deserving than the land girls of World War II.
Earlier this year, Dan Snow paid tribute to their war effort, meeting Jean Proctor, one of the women who worked the land way back then while their men were at the front.
Today, Jean and some 50 others were finally recognised for the vital part that they played in the war effort.
They got special commemorative badges at number 10, and good luck to them. Yes. Delighted to see that's come to pass.
Great news. And while we're on the subject of women of a certain age, a report today says they tend to be much happier than men of the same age.
Apparently, once they reach 50, women are generally given to optimism and enjoy the freedom of not having to look after their families.
Whereas men feel they're no longer in control of their destiny and have little to look forward to. Yes, gentlemen?
Hey, you know...
Oh, you're all looking into the distance.
You know where men make their biggest mistake? Men are not romantic.
Oh, that's an interesting... Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought. We'll come back to that in just a second.